Bomb in F1. The FIA has published new key evidence about the controversial incident between Lando Norris and Yuki Tsunoda in Abu Dhabi, and the reaction of the Japanese driver says it all. Was there cheating in the McLaren? What exactly did the stewards discover? Today I tell you everything with official data without speculation. The 2025 Abu Dhabi Grand Prix not only closed the season, it also wrote one of the most tense chapters in the recent history of Formula One. The battle for the title between Lando Norris and Max Verstappen was red hot, and any detail, any incident on the track could tip the balance. During lap 23, that tension exploded in a maneuver that left the entire field holding its breath. Norris, who had already made his first pit stop, exited into traffic and began to make up ground. In that context, he met the Red Bull driver Yuki Tsunoda, who had not yet stopped and was riding on more worn tires. From the wall, Red Bull told Tsunoda a clear order: resist overtaking at all costs to protect Verstappen's advantage. The radio was direct. They told him, do everything you can when it reaches you. Tsunoda responded with determination, I know what I have to do. From that moment on, it was clear that what was coming was not just any defense. It was a high-risk maneuver strategically planned by Red Bull to influence the outcome of the championship, using its second driver to directly interfere in the race of the championship leader. Norris closed quickly thanks to DRS, and tried it on the long back straight before the chicane. But just before braking, Tsunoda made a sharp move to the left, cornering him to the edge of the track. Norris had to decide in a split second: brake hard and risk a collision, or complete the overtake by completely going outside the limits of the circuit. He chose the latter. He crossed the white line with all four wheels, avoided contact, and overtook Tsunoda. The scene was recorded from multiple onboard cameras. It was a limit moment where two styles clashed: the uncompromising defense of Tsunoda and the calculated precision of Norris, who knew that losing that battle could cost him the championship. Meanwhile, in the paddock, tension was growing. The overtaking was carried out off the track, and although at first glance it seemed like a clear infraction, what would come next would be a deep technical analysis that would decide if Norris would retain his position, or if that action would mark his fall in the table. From that moment on, the race stopped being just a speed competition. It became a legal, sporting, and media battle which would put not only the drivers, but also the stewards, the teams, and the FIA itself under the microscope. The maneuver between Norris and Tsunoda immediately set off alarms in the race direction. Just seconds after the overtake, the FIA opened a double investigation. On the one hand, Norris was under analysis for having exceeded the track limits to complete the overtake. On the other hand, Tsunoda was flagged for forcing another driver out of bounds, a serious infraction under international sporting regulations. The context was critical. At that time, Lando Norris was in a podium position, the minimum he needed to secure the world championship. Any penalty of 5 or 10 seconds could make him lose that position to Charles Leclerc, who was less than a second behind. The tension was absolute. The FIA began a high-level technical review. It was not a quick decision nor taken lightly. Videos were analyzed from all available angles, including on board of both pilots, circuit cameras, and aerial shots. Telemetry data was cross-referenced, speeds, steering inputs, reaction times, and GPS trajectories were reviewed. The key to the analysis was understanding whether Norris was forced off the track without a safe alternative. Telemetry showed that by the time Norris activated DRS and dove around the inside, Tsunoda had already made an initial legal change of direction. But a few meters from the braking zone, he executed a second defensive movement, moving even further to the left. That second action, according to the regulations, constitutes a direct infraction. Only one change of direction is allowed to defend. That second movement caused Norris to be trapped between the Red Bull and the wall, with no physical space to stay on the track. The only way to avoid contact was to completely cross the circuit boundaries. The official document from the stewards made it clear: Car 22 made more than one change of direction. As a result, Car 4 was forced to leave the track to avoid a collision. It was considered that Car 22's maneuver violated the multiple movements article and that Car 4 acted under a force majeure situation. The consequence was overwhelming. Yuki Tsunoda received a 5-second penalty, enough to make him lose 2 positions at the end of the race. He was also given a point on his super license, putting him dangerously close to an automatic suspension. As for Norris, he was exonerated. No penalty, no warning, or subsequent investigation was applied. His maneuver was considered forced, inevitable, and safely executed. The championship was still in his hands. This decision generated all kinds of reactions. From those who considered it fair and aligned with the regulations, to those who saw favoritism or double standards on the part of the commissioners. The truth is that the resolution was technical, not political, based on concrete evidence. And that was what finally cemented Lando Norris' victory as legitimate, at least from a regulatory standpoint. Minutes after finishing the race, Yuki Tsunoda was one of the first drivers to leave the interview corral. His face said it all. The 5-second penalty had not only relegated him in the final classification, but also left him with a feeling of injustice that he soon expressed publicly. In direct statements, Tsunoda openly questioned the stewards' decision. Their main argument centered on the lack of consistency. According to him, similar maneuvers had occurred in other races of the season without sanctions. He gave as an example what happened between Fernando Alonso and Kimi Antonelli weeks ago, where an aggressive defense by the Asturian driver was not penalized. Tsunoda said verbatim, "If that was a sanction, then there are many others that should have been too. I don't understand what the exact criteria is." These types of statements are not common for Tsunoda, who usually maintains a low profile off the court. But this time his tone was different. He was not simply frustrated by a lost position, but by what he considered a disproportionate punishment for a maneuver that, from his perspective, was part of fair play within aggressive defense. Furthermore, what especially bothered the Japanese driver was Norris's total acquittal. For him, the fact that the McLaren completed the overtake outside the track limits should have led to at least a warning. Although he acknowledged that the movement was executed with skill, he questioned whether the regulations should allow this type of maneuver without any consequences. In the Red Bull garage, the discomfort was evident. Laurent Mekies, team boss, publicly defended his driver. At a press conference, he pointed out that, although they respected the steward's decision, they did not understand how a driver could overtake completely off the track and not receive any type of penalty or additional technical review. Mekies was clear that there was no intention to play dirty, but he also showed that Red Bull had used a common tactical strategy, slowing down a key rival with its second car. Something that, according to him, is a legitimate part of this sport. What happened in Abu Dhabi left him shocked not only by the sanction itself, but by what he perceived as a lack of uniform judgment. And that feeling, although not exclusive, was amplified by the context. A world championship that was defined to the millimeter, where every detail had enormous implications. For Tsunoda, that defense was part of an intense race. For the FIA, it was a clear violation. And that difference in interpretation was, for many, more significant than the maneuver itself. While the tension of the incident with Tsunoda was still being debated among fans and specialized media, a new narrative began to emerge from another corner of the Formula One ecosystem, the world of YouTube channels and social networks. One of the most widespread theories spoke of irregular peaks in the ERS system during qualifying, specifically in Q3, when Norris achieved his best lap. According to these rumors, the energy recovery figures did not coincide with those of his teammate Oscar Piastri. Radio messages with supposedly coded language were also mentioned, where McLaren engineers used expressions such as Plan Echo or Target Delta, suggesting that unorthodox strategic instructions were being hidden. Lando Norris' victory in the 2025 championship may seem like the natural result of a solid season. But the reality is that, in Abu Dhabi, McLaren did not win just because of speed but because of strategy. A tactical plan executed with surgical precision, designed to dismantle the power that Red Bull still retained in race pace and control of the peloton. It all started with a decision made on Saturday night, a few hours after qualifying. McLaren already knew that they would start from second and third position, with Norris ahead of Piastri, and that Max Verstappen would start from pole. The key question they asked themselves was not how to attack the first corner, but how to prevent Verstappen from using his leadership position to slow down the race, create traffic trains and condition the strategies of his rivals. The solution was risky: split the tire strategies between its two drivers. Norris would start with medium tires looking for a two-stop race. More speed at the start, more tactical aggressiveness. Piastri, on the other hand, would start hard for a one-stop strategy, extending his first stint as much as possible. This choice had a double objective: to put pressure on Verstappen from the beginning, to force Red Bull to push from lap 1 and to break any possibility of a strategic game based on picking up the pace. The execution was impeccable. On the first lap, Oscar Piastri overtook Norris with a clean maneuver in turn 9, as had already been planned internally if the situation allowed it. There were no surprises or conflicts. It was part of the plan. Andrea Stella explained it clearly after the race. If Oscar had the opportunity to pass Lando without contact, he had to do it. His hard tire gave him that option. We wanted to make sure that Max couldn't play with the pace. By overtaking Norris, Piastri became a kind of direct marker for Verstappen. If Max tried to slow the pace to catch Norris in traffic, he risked handing the race to Piastri, who could stay out much longer on hard tires and have the advantage at the end. Red Bull was caught in a dead-end dilemma. If they pushed, they accelerated the wear of their tires. If they lifted their foot, Piastri threatened to take victory away from them. That was McLaren's true tactical victory, neutralizing Verstappen's pace control from strategy, not from the track. Meanwhile, Norris focused on fulfilling his part of the plan, maintaining the pace necessary to maintain the podium and not compromising the tires. His management was exemplary, even when he had to face difficult traffic after his first stop, including the aforementioned battle with Tsunoda. Piastri fulfilled his role until the end. He was even prepared to sacrifice himself if necessary, as Martin Brundle confirmed in his analysis. If Norris could not secure third place, the team would consider having Piastri give up his position on the final lap. But it wasn't necessary. The plan had worked. In short, McLaren won in Abu Dhabi not because they had the fastest car in all conditions, but because they understood how to break the strategic control of their main rival. They designed a career structure that maximized their resources and minimized risks. It was a triumph of intelligence, data analysis, and absolute trust between driver and team. Let me know in the comments what you think about all this.